Hello, card reading friends. April here on Tarot and Witchery, and today I have another Before You Buy. I'm doing the Enchanted Art Oracle cards by Mimi Petibone. Now, normally I would pit this against another deck when I do a Before You Buy, but I don't really have anything in my collection like this. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about the basics of the deck. I'm going to talk to you about the pairings, if there are any magical uses I feel that are in it, and just my general understanding of the deck and from working with it, because I have worked with it for quite a while now before doing this review for you. I want to encourage you to check out my free resources down below in the description box. If you're interested in PDF printables or what I'm doing on my website, you'll find those links down there. This deck was sent to me by the creator for review, and I don't want to spoil any of what my thoughts are on it. There are links in the description box down below so that you can jump around to the parts that interest you. And if you want to see just a full walkthrough of the deck itself, where you can see every single card, I do have a video. It looks like that, and I will link it down below in the description box if you want to get just a better look at each one of the cards, because I'm not doing that in here. I've already done that. So let's jump into it. All right, let's talk about the basics. The backs of these cards are lovely. They are a smooth finish. And then the fronts of the cards are rose petal. And this is kind of interesting. It makes it just a little bit easier to overhand shuffle when the whole thing is not rose petal. I don't know how they did it, but this is not. And that is something that's very unique about this deck. You'll find that these are probably just stock images that are no longer copyrighted, that are in the decks, and they are all very fanciful. And then at the bottom you have a phrase. These are not keywords, but a phrase. And there is no book with this. This is it. So you simply use the cards themselves and the phrases to work with the cards. And it's pretty straightforward. The art style is kind of like, well, I guess it's from different eras, but it has that very fanciful sort of feeling with a little bit of an Art Nouveau twist to it. All right, let's talk pairings with tarot. So if we're gonna go for sort of simpatico, here is my Rider-Waite-Smith. And you can see, oops, you can see that I love the color schemes here. I feel like they go, I feel like they work. Yeah, I feel like they work really well together. Next we have the Unfolding Path Tarot with the Oracle. I love the backs together. They're just beautiful. And let's look at the way that they go together. I feel like there's something about this pairing that really works. This deck is very exciting and it has a youthful zeal to it, and I think it goes really well with this deck. Here we have the Golden Art Nouveau, and so, you know, I feel like the art styles really work well together. This is kind of contrasting colors because this is very bold colors and these are all sort of golden tones, but I feel like the Art Nouveau with the Art Nouveau style just seems to match. Here I have the Ostara Tarot by Julia Iredale and Krista Gibbard, and you can see the backs go together really well. I feel like vibe-wise these work. They're just both very fanciful, fresh, and there is a freshness to this oracle, and so although the art styles are not completely congruent, it goes, it just works, it reads well together. Contrasting vibes here, the Hush Tarot by Jeremy Hush. The backs actually, I think, look lovely together, but the vibe, they're both fae, but this is edgy and dark, and this is very questioning. So I think the two of these complement each other extremely well in a read. Just the way that they play off of each other. Again, it's a contrast, but I think it's nice sometimes to have contrasting vibes. That contrast can actually complement one another. In that same vein of sort of contrasting, we have the New Vision Tarot here by Pietro Allegro. And I think the backs look lovely together, but there's something about the New Vision Tarot where you're looking at this, you're having that next sort of vision or a different angle with the way that this oracle works, which I'll get into here in a bit, or my experience with this oracle, that I feel like the two of them sort of challenge each other and play off one another in a way that helps you think a little more deeply. In the realm of oracles, I have here the Power of Surrender cards, which I love with this, and you can pull this, and I find that this is a very questioning oracle, and so having this and then having something complement it that tells you how to surrender in this, how to surrender in this situation. Artwork not congruent at all, but the ways in which these two oracles make you think work well together. The Moon deck here by Arana Leah, illustrated by Andrea Kay. I think that the backs don't particularly go well together, but I'm not really looking at the backs. I'm not really reading the backs, am I? You can see here the softness of the colors work really well together. And it's definitely, wow, these are just not in the right way, you guys, sorry. But the way in which these work, they have sayings on both of them. So working through how they are playing off of each other can be very informative and get your mind really thinking in another way. This would be, for me, using these would be something that I could do with tarot as well. So the tarot would be more the concrete sort of energy, and these are suppositions or ideas that I'm working within my consciousness. The Woodland Wardens deck by Jessica Rue. I've done a before you buy on this if you haven't seen it. The backs lovely together. And I feel like the illustration style goes really well together. I feel like this is a great jumping off point. Like maybe this gives you something to think about, and then you draw this card as sort of a message that goes in tandem. And you can see, I just think the coloration on the two of these tends to go really well together. There's not a lot of clashing. Rather unlikely bedfellows, but the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle by Kim Kranz with this. Of course, the backs don't really go, but let's look at these. So the Shaman comes up here, very deep. These are super deep. And then there's this card. I would do this first and then draw this. Allow yourself to connect with what you are passionate about. I can see how the two of those would go well together. Let's see these ones. The Venom. Share your cares. So as you read up on this and then you come back to here, this is kind of almost a go do it after you've looked at this. One more. Let's see here. Gnosis, and relaxation promotes healing. So I could see that, how the knowing, you're not going to get to the knowing if you're not in that place of relaxation. As far as magical uses go using this deck, I think for me that I would use this when I get to a place where I find a card that really sparks me in a direction that I'm working on, where I have a moment of deep understanding about myself that I link to the card, and then I could do a working around the understanding that I've gleaned from this card and keep it out and use it, whether it's in a spell or if I'm putting this out before I meditate, like if I'm doing deep work to uproot something. Sorry guys, I'm still sick. That's how I would use this magically. I think that this is the type of deck that draws you to really think about what's going on. And once you get to that place of crystallized understanding, that's the place where this becomes a jumping off point into your magical workings. So before I go any further into what my personal thoughts are and how I feel like this works, I want you to make a guess down below in the comments. Do you think I'm going to keep this deck or not? I've tried to be very neutral up until this point, so I'm going to share with you now my personal unfolding on the path of walking with this deck. So the first thing I want to say is that I feel like I love the images on here, but they aren't necessarily what the deck is really about. Like the images are sort of secondary. What really gets this deck and makes this deck what it is are the sayings that are on the bottoms of the cards. So unlike decks that are just like all super positive, I do not feel like this deck does that. I feel like this deck is actually super neutral, which is interesting. And I feel like neutrality is a place that empowers us. I feel like this deck itself draws you into a place of sovereignty. And by that I mean like owning your power. So look at this one. And it's very action oriented. So your talents and gifts are calling you. So what are you going to do with that? What are you going to choose to do with that? Yes, you have talents. That's a very positive thing. But again, these are very neutral sayings. You have the ability to prosper. Again, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to grab a hold of your own sovereignty? Are you going to reach in and do something about that? Do you want to do something about that? To me, these cards actually draw you into reflection. They make me ask myself questions. And I really enjoy that about this deck. When in doubt, ask for guidance. Again, very, very action oriented, but the action is based on you. Like, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Spend some time in self-care. It doesn't tell me how to care for myself, but then I need to do that. And again, it's up to me to delve into there and say, do I need self-care? Like, what kind of self-care do I need right now? Have I stopped to think about that? And in this way, it's a great companion for tarot or oracle because it's a great jumping off point. You are in co-creation with universe. So again, it's very neutral. What are you going to do about that? Co-creation is not just about you. You're the most magnificent person in the whole world. This is not toxic positivity at all. Listen to the messages of your dreams. Okay, so have you checked in with your dreams? What are you going to do with that? I just feel like this is a very empowering deck in that way. It's a deck that feels very sovereign. Make your own magic. Again, the implication in this card is that it's action oriented and the action is totally up to you. It's not telling you what to do in any way. Do I want to make magic? What kind of magic do I want to make? Do I believe in magic? Is my magic working? God, I thought I was doing magic. Is my magic somebody else's? Make your own magic. Again, I just feel like if you have my kind of brain anyway, this draws me to think, to really think and ask questions. Listen to the still small voice within. I also feel that no matter if you're atheist, polytheistic, monotheistic, that this deck is so neutral that anyone can use it. And I don't see a lot of decks out there. Now, somebody said, there's not very much diversity in here. The era that these are taken from, you're just not going to find diversity. I don't find that this deck is for that. And this is my own soapbox here, you guys, but not every deck has to be diverse, I'm not seeing gray-haired women in here, but it doesn't bum me out. I don't see anybody really middle-aged. I actually have this painting in my house. That every deck has something that it's for, that it has a purpose that it serves, and it doesn't have to serve every purpose, and it doesn't have to mirror every person. Again, I find that I don't even really look at the images so much. I'm that type of person. Maybe that's really important to you. Not that I can't get something out of it. This one says, follow your dreams and help will find you in unforeseen ways. And so she's stepping into a fairy circle. That's very dreamy in itself. You could pathwork into this. I'm really familiar with this image, so it'll be hard for me to pathwork into it. But again, I just don't feel like the images themselves are what's important. I feel like, so did you make your guess below whether I'm keeping this or not before I say this? I feel like the phrases on this are brilliant. I really do. I love what she's done with this. I love how this calls me to action. I'm an action-oriented person. And they could be inward action, doesn't have to be outward action. But I love that about this deck. I love that it feels like something that is asking me to grab hold of my own power And I love that this pushes me into other questions, which again makes it perfect for doing a tarot reading with, using this as your jumping off point. Like I would say, okay, let's look at this one. Knowledge and learning empower you. Well, let's not use that one. Never mind. Let's use this one. Don't push the river, let it flow. Okay, so then immediately I'm like, what am I pushing on right now that I don't need to be pushing on? Boom, I draw a tarot card on that, or another different oracle card on that. Let it flow. What needs to flow right now? This is just such a great jumping off deck. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm keeping this. I really like it. I really, really love what she's done here. And this is such an affordable deck. I mean, this is amazingly affordable. It's like, sorry, try to get this over here. This is like under 20 bucks. So if you're looking for something new, something fresh, something great, that's a good jumping off point, if you love this era of paintings and artwork, then, you know, I think it's colorful and beautiful. I love how saturated the color palette is. And again, like I said, I think this is brilliant. So I want to thank Mimi for sending this deck to me and asking me to review it. I am honored that you trusted me with this, and I really love what you've done with this deck. So thank you so much for contributing to my shelves, but also to my life, because I feel like this deck, as I've worked with it in past weeks, has helped me to feel empowered, like I am capable of looking at what needs to be looked at in my life and allowing the questions that go with that to arise. All right, you guys, tell me what you think down below, and if you have any other suggestions on what we could pair this with, like what decks you think it would go with, please let me know. If you made it this far, then put a mermaid or some kind of sea animal emoji down below, or leave me a comment, and until we meet again, may you have the strength to ask the questions that drive you towards knowing yourself and your personal power even more.